my god, I so can't believe that just happened because like there's this whole other thing that you should know nothing about, so shut up, you're well gonna get beatens. Konnichiwa minaboku wa Jeremy desu. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. And guess what? I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I was right in my predictions. I really didn't know what to expect. I was right for the most part. Okay, when I said what I wanted to happen, like Portugal getting in, versus what I thought was actually going to happen, I was wrong with the what I thought was actually going to happen by one, but I was right in all of the ones that I wanted to get in, and I am stunned simultaneously and excited and sad. So let's unravel this. Semifinal one just occurred today. At the time of recording this, although it's much, much later, like, because I live in Canada and it was live streamed at noon and I was working. So I got home, I watched it when I got home, the full thing, although I was kind of stealing little glances at it throughout. And I know I found out who won, but I wanted to go back and watch the performances before I did a full reaction on this. And I just blown away that I was right. Like, I figured there'd be some that I was right with, but wow. Very exciting. So this is shaping up to be quite an interesting year, and there's a lot of variety. I'm so excited for this, and it's so interesting with the televote versus the juries being involved. So we're seeing an interesting trend coming out here. So let's talk about love. Let's talk about us. Let's talk about life. Let's talk about trust. Celine Dion herself, a winner in Eurovision 1988 for Switzerland, even though she is Canadian. You know, since Canada is going to be doing Eurovision Canada, it'd be really interesting if Celine represented Canada. Like, and she'd be representing two different countries in the contest. Although she's dealing with some health stuff. But anyway, back to the video at hand. Okay, so the running order today, we started with Norway. What a great way to open the contest. Queen of the Kings by Alessandra Mele. Very, very well done. I noticed, and it could have been stylistic choice on her part, I'm not sure, but there was a lot of pitchiness in it, and maybe it could have just been nerves being the first act, and you have a giant crowd ahead of you, and you're like, at that moment, there's a difference of we're doing the parties, we're doing this rehearsal, we're doing this, but now you're like, this is your chance, your one chance to try to make it into the grand final, and she did. But it was a very, very well done performance, but the high note was the pitchiest of all, but you know, still a great performance, and what a great way, full of energy, to start the contest off. I do feel like there were certain points, and not just with her, but in others too, where the vocals were turned down in comparison to the music. And I run across that a lot when I do live performances, and I always try to get them to turn the vocals up a little bit more, but is what it is. It worked out for Norway, so that's great. Second place, second in the placings was Malta. Now, Malta, I thought, stood a really, really good chance with how they have such an amazing staging. Like, they used so much of the stage. They had bright colors. They had this story they were telling. They were full of great energy. It was just a fun experience. Kind of just like Latvia last year with Eat Your Salad, but they didn't qualify, just like Eat Your Salad didn't. So I don't know. I mean, it was kind of it was borderline yes or no qualifier a lot of the times, even with the bookies and stuff too, but it would kind of go up and then it would go down. And ultimately, unfortunately, they weren't able to make it in. Now, third in the running order was Serbia. As they were doing the announcements, I know that Luke, you could see he was getting really nervous about things, and he was announced, I think, second last. But they don't do it in the order specifically, like what the most points to the least points were, I don't think. Anyway, it's kind of random order the way they announce it. At least that's what they say. But We knew that he was going to go in. His vocals were especially noticeably quiet, at least to me anyway. He'd put on a really good performance, but there was a lot of pitchiness in his voice as well too. Again, it could just be nerves. It could just be, I don't know, it could be a number of things. But he put on a really, really great performance as well. Fourth, we had Latvia. Now, Latvia also, I'm glad that they split up Malta and Latvia because otherwise you'd have the two groups back to back. They're kind of similar, but they're also not kind of similar. Latvia, as I said, was one that I did think was going to get in there if I had to choose between the two of them. And, I did end up saying Latvia over Portugal, of who I figured would get in. But they put on a great show. They had a nice kind of goldish style or goldy orange style staging. And it was I did find myself looking at my phone like a couple times. I wasn't like super interested in it, but I know they had like their massive fan base. But I guess it just wasn't enough with the televotes in order to get them in there, like in terms of votes that they got. And talking about the voting, this was my first time being allowed to vote because being in Canada and stuff. And I used the app. I downloaded the app, and apparently you have to pay 99 cents or 0.99 euros, which is like 99 cents. It's actually worth a little bit more. The euro's worth a lot more than Canadian, but per vote. And you can vote up to 20 times, and you would just put plus it. So it wasn't like you give your 12 points, 10 points, whatever. It's literally, you could only do up to 20 per credit card. So you could actually pull out another card and do another 20 votes, and you could keep doing that basically. And I think I sent like 6 votes to Sweden because, of course, Lorraine is my favorite. And, kind of just spread them out. And Portugal because I love Portugal. And I gave Ireland some too and a few others. But I thought that was interesting. I didn't realize you had to pay to vote. And I was wondering, I'm like, I wonder where all this money is going. Probably to the phone company that is sponsoring them. So maybe it's more like Eurovision is sponsoring the phone company. I don't know. But anyway. So my first experience with it, and am I voting in the second semifinal? Probably. I don't know. I'll just have to watch it and see who I vote for. But this one, I did it based on the songs that I liked because I wasn't able to watch the performance at work. I just kind of just took a moment to vote. Okay, they broke it up, and I think it was at this point I was super surprised by Alicia. I think, is it Alicia Dixon? I think that's her name. The hosts are really good, I must say. Really, really good. We have Julia, who is Ukrainian, and then we have Hannah, who I think is British, as well as Alicia, and later on in the grand final is going to be Graham Norton, who is loved for his commentary for BBC. Loved or hated, however you want it. He's always really funny with what he says. But they're so good together. And I noticed Alicia was kind of more involved in the crowd area, talking and interviewing, while the other two were more of the hosts, so to speak. But Alicia came up with this rap randomly as she was with the busker. No, was it the busker? Or was it? No, it was Malta. It was, Malta and Norway. Alessandra was there. And just doing this rap. And I was like, where did that come from? That's really well done. I don't know much about Alicia. I'm pretty sure she's a judge on Britain's Got Talent. Or maybe something along those lines. X Factor. I don't know. But I've seen her before as a judge. I'm not really familiar with all of her body of work, but wow, she did a really, really good job, So kudos to her for that. That was awesome. And then, of course, we get into the next bunch. So up next was Portugal, Mimi Cat. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad she made it in as a qualifier. This song is so different from a lot of the other ones. It's a burlesque style, kind of cabaret, like just very Spanish themed. And I love it. I love it. I'm so glad she's made it into the grand final. Absolutely well deserved. Her vocals were amazingly on point. I just thought absolutely stunning as always. Then we get into Ireland, and I love this song. I've said before, people give me crap for it. Whatever. It's my own choice. I like it. It's a good anthem. It's a good positive message. The boys were amazing. Connor's voice was absolutely great. They had this gigantic gold theme. They were playing really well. singing really well. The staging was great. He's going out there and just interacting. And Ireland gets a bum end of a stick lately, and I don't know what it is. I didn't think it was a bad song. I also loved Maps, in 2021. I've said that several times. I wasn't a fan of Brooks' song last year, but I loved Leslie Roy's Maps in 2021. I mean, the staging that she was given was so different and definitely a challenge and something, but it was different, and it was just unfortunate that she was so breathy with it. But I love her. I love her. I love Ireland. I love Emer Quinn, who I think was the last person to win for Ireland in 1997. I think it was 97. Wow. Anyways, I loved this song. I felt so bad. You could just see every time when they were doing the announcements of the winners, you could see the look on Connor's face just getting less and less hopeful, and just that broke my heart. I was so sad for them. And then he posted a thing on Instagram and said that everybody just isn't giving them a chance. And it can come across as sour, but it's disappointing. It's sad. So, and it is what it is. But okay, after Ireland, we had Croatia. Now, this one stood out for a couple of reasons. I love this song. I love Mama Shch. It's such an amazingly tongue-in-cheek song. Amazing, amazing song. But the lead singer was off. Not vocally, but time-wise. He was the most noticeably off time-wise. Had I watched it live at the time, I would have been really worried about it. But watching it after, that's when I noticed it. And they still, this is after I knew that they had qualified. So I'm very glad that they did qualify. I think just on the merit of the song itself and how out there it is and crazy, but fun. And the fact that a lot of people in the world are not impressed with the subject of the song, the leader of a certain country that's at war with another country. But anyways, we'll leave it at that. I figured they would get in. It's one of those iconic Eurovision style songs. Of course they're going to get in. But he was off by time, and it is what it is. They still pulled off a great song. I noticed that when the others would start singing, he would pull back in, it's like they were pulling him back into the timing. So that was good, and a good solid performance. Otherwise, it's so colorful, lights up the whole stage. They're hilarious. They're amazing, and it's great. So I love it. Drag Queen Hitler style parody. I love it. It's just awesome. It's so Eurovision. Eighth in the running order was Switzerland, who very vastly different from the music video. And I'd seen pictures and little bits of the rehearsal clips, but he blew me away. The Remo Fourier, I think is his name. Great voice. This guy, I mean, he's up and comer. He's young. He's got a good career ahead of him. His English pronunciation's a little weird, but I still understood him. He got better from when I first heard him. But it's a great song, and the staging was amazing. Very, very well done. Again, kind of similar in terms of like the Finland one where, they have those, and also Sertab, something, I forget her name, but she did that song, Every Way That I Can, and they had the dancers with like the holding onto the ropes. Kind of similar idea, but it worked. It worked really, really well. And I think given the political climate that we're in with the war and stuff and the message of the song, it worked really well. I think most people were stunned that this made it into the grand final without the juries being involved, because it was kind of like a jury bait song. But the televoters obviously liked it. They thought it was a great song, great voice, great pairing. So there you go. Sometimes you get some surprises. And I know that even I thought, I was like, I don't know. It's a pretty stacked semifinal. So, but congratulations to Switzerland. Well deserved. Ninth in the running order was Israel. I think we all knew that Israel was going to get in. That dance break at the end was amazing. That reveal with Noah and like the unicorns there on towards the end, that was awesome. She did such a great song. The staging with the square thing, like she's coming for a top 5 at least. I still think it's going to be between Sweden and Finland, and I still believe that that Sweden's going to win ultimately. But Israel's coming. They're back, baby. And what an amazing performance. Outstanding performance there. After we had Israel, we got Who was 10th? Moldova. Moldova was another wonderful surprise to a lot of people. And again, it's very different. It's a standout song. It's kind of avant-garde in a way. It's very Celtic-y folk, um, mystical, and I love that. It draws me to it. Pasha's a seasoned performer. He's been in it many times. Well, before he was in it in 2012 with Lorraine, actually, when she won with Euphoria. So I'm glad that they got brought in there. The costumes were amazing. The performance was outstanding, especially when they got to like the circular part of the stage and they had all the lighting and stuff there. And of course, he's like doing his dance thing with Pan and the flute, and like it just everything worked out so well. The visual with the girls coming together and the horns, and like he's holding it like this, very, very well done. So I am super, super happy that Moldova's in there. 11th in the running order was Sweden, of course. I've said before, I love Lorraine. I am of the few people that believe that Tattoo is a better song than Euphoria. But maybe that's because I'm actually getting to watch it now live, or be a part of the Eurovision experience. Whereas with Euphoria, it's a good song. I do like it. And as I was getting into Eurovision and I was getting all of the official CDs over time, and I heard that song, I thought, oh, this is a great song. But I never connected with it throughout the whole ride as I am now, having been involved with Eurovision over the last couple of years more, and actually like from start to finish in 2021 to 2022, now 2023. Tattoo just resonates. I love it. The whole performance is astounding. I love her. There's something about the way she performs. It's very Bjork-like. It's very stylistic, very artsy, and just very relaxed and amazing. And Lorraine should have been back already with Statements. I think it's ridiculous and absolutely egregious that Melodifestivalen 2017, they did not choose Statements, because that song was the best Eurovision potential song I think I have ever heard. And that's really saying something. Probably would have beaten out Wild Dances in terms of my first place eventually, had they gotten in there. So, but anyway, Lorraine is amazing. She's a seasoned veteran performer. Even if she comes second or third, like people are going on about, oh, well, she stands to lose so much as a former winner. Well, no, she doesn't. She loves performing. You can tell she loves performing. She gets herself out there. She gets her art out there. That's what she wants. Any artist that's involved in Eurovision, you have a platform. Even the ones that don't make it into the grand final, you are still being broadcast worldwide, and you're getting this gigantic gift, this platform to perform on. And honestly, I am so proud of every single one of them that gets up there. You may not necessarily qualify, but that doesn't make you a loser. Getting up there, like, you were chosen by your country to represent you. And yes, some people can look at that as being like, oh my gosh, I've let them down. No, you haven't. Like, you were the cream of the crop. And you know what? Maybe something just happened where you weren't able to be the best by a televote. But you know what? You still did your best, and that's amazing. And all the songs are great this year. So I love it. But Sweden absolutely resonates with me and is still my winner. And I love Lorraine so much. Can't wait to see what she does in the grand final. It's going to be probably even more heartfelt because everything's elevated, so they have to be. 12th in the running was Azerbaijan. I figured this wasn't going to make it in. I was pleasantly surprised by their performance. It was a lot more to it than I expected because, of course, just going off the rehearsal clips, little bits that they showed in the pictures, it looked like it was going to be kind of super boring, but it wasn't. The song, I don't care for it too much. It is basically, it samples what is that song? Sixpence None the Richer. Kiss Me? So kiss me. Yeah. But, the boys did a really good job. They harmonized really well. Having twin brothers in there is a really neat thing too. Their costumes were great. Their guitars were great. It kind of, they looked like they were actually playing them. And I know nobody's actually playing the instruments live necessarily. The drums, I think they can play the drums pretty much live, but for the most part, it's instrumental only. I've heard, at least in previous ones, that they're not allowed to actually play the instrument. They just have to kind of, pretend that they're doing it. But hey, you know what? It's awesome. So, and if you look at Kalush Orchestra, even if they were pretending last year to play the instrument, you've seen other lives where they're playing it properly. Like, live, as far as I know, anyway. So, but no, very, very well done. So I'm quite happy that they got their chance to perform, and I thought it was good. It was also a different style of song compared to the others, but it just wasn't strong enough to make it in. I mean, we've had some really strong entries from Azerbaijan in previous years. Last year was okay, but I loved Effendi, of course. Both Cleopatra and Matahari, I think, were amazing. So from Azerbaijan, we go to the next entry, which was 13, Czechia. I am so happy. I'm so proud of these girls. This was one of the best performances of the night. You know, people were watching all the watch party things and the other shows that they would do, and they were kind of pitchy and all over the place, and they looked really rigid. My gosh, what a difference time and practice makes. Like, their staging was beautiful. The way they handled everything, the long hair stuff, the interactions with each other, just everything was perfect. Probably my favorite performance was Czechia. And that's saying a lot. Like I said, I love Sweden. I love Loreen. I was blown away by Finland's entry and how they elevated it, but we'll get to that. But Czechia was probably my favorite of this one, and just outstanding. I'm so happy they're in there. They did incorporate some elements of the music video a little bit, like when they're at the end, when they're doing the holding on to each other's arms and like going around in circles. It was so well done. Like, Czechia, I am so thankful that they are going into the grand final, and I can't wait to see how they do overall. It's such a good song. It's always stuck in my head and is still one of my top 5. All right, Czechia to Netherlands. Now, this is another one I just could feel that it wasn't going to qualify. Mainly, I think it's because of the bad press they were getting. They performed very well. I know that there was talk of it being pitchy at other places, and even in rehearsals, struggling going from like the lower notes to the higher notes and stuff. But I think they did really well. Mia's voice was a little bit better than Dion's. But like in terms of just hitting all the notes and stuff properly, but just slightly, because they worked really well together. And at first, when you looked at initial interactions of them when they were first paired together, it did look very rigid, but they seemed to get a lot more comfortable around each other, and you could see that they were having fun with stuff. Either that or they're really good actors, but no, it was very well done. And I just, again, maybe if they were in semifinal 2, they could have made it in, and it's unfortunate. And I really hope that this doesn't further get them more vitriol from their own home country, because this, man, like, Netherlands media was horrible to them. But they did their best. And again, even if it's not one of my favorite songs, I absolutely have full respect for all artists out there. I know, being like, I'm not an international artist or anything, but I perform, and it's tough when you're out there and you're just doing your best, and sometimes you just want to cry, and that audience really lifts you up. And the audience was so good. Like, they were so good with every entry. So, like, it's amazing. It's amazing. So finally, we finished with Finland. And of course, we knew that Kariya was going to make it into the grand final. What a way to finish it. What a way to start the show and to finish the show. And then, of course, you have Sweden and like a bunch of other great ones in there in the middle. Like, semifinal 1 was an amazing show to watch. Everything was just so well done. Even all the interactions, like, okay, some of the interactions with the MCs were a little cheesy, but not like terribly cheesy. And I love cheesy. I love camp. I'm all about embrace the cringe. Okay. There was just like, of course, they brought Dustin the Turkey in from Ireland. Oh my gosh. But, gotta have those little moments and stuff in there. And that weird moment with Mons and what's her name? The other girl, where they're playing that game, like the non-qualifier versus qualifier. I'm glad that they had DJ Bobo in there. Vampires Are Alive is one of my favorite Eurovision songs of all time. But I digress. Anyway, so Finland, amazing. Like, Kariya, they just elevated everything. It's bigger, better, like just a lot of energy. And now, amazingly enough, Sweden and Finland are going to be in the first part of the grand final. So that's going to be interesting to see how things go. We don't know the exact running order yet. We just know they're going to be in the first part of there. And I'm quite curious to see how it goes down. I think the United Kingdom drew 26th place, so they're going to be the last ones to perform. May Muller and I Wrote a Song. So, okay. Ireland, Malta, Latvia, Netherlands, and Azerbaijan did not qualify. I felt so bad for them. You know, like I said, with Ireland, especially every time they'd go to, and even Latvia, they kept going to them with the cameras, and you could see just the hope draining from their faces. And it's just so sad because everybody works so hard, but you know, they each did their country proud, and they have nothing to feel bad about. Like, if nothing else, now that pressure has got to be off of them, and I believe they get to stay for the rest of Eurovision, as bittersweet as it might be. But you know what? Hey, enjoy Liverpool while you're there. Enjoy the music. Enjoy the ambiance. You still have your fans, no matter what, and enjoy this experience that you got to have, being a part of something so big and magical. So, um, one thing I'm glad they didn't do, and I heard that they were doing, or they were thinking of doing this, was like an X Factor slash Got Talent sort of reveal, is when they go to tell you who made it into the grand final versus who didn't. They were going to bring all the artists on stage, and that would have just elevated the sadness, I think, and just the embarrassment for them. But they still kind of, they still flash the camera, and I think they set it up in such a way that you can see the people, like when they're announcing the winners, you can see other groups in the background and stuff, especially when it gets to the end and you can see their sadness. I guess, it makes for good television in terms of production, but it's still really sad. And, I mean, last year we got a really nice moment in the grand final when Sam ran over to marry a sparrow when he was really upset about losing. But, and that's a nice human moment when he went over to comfort him and stuff. But anyways, so that's semifinal one. Croatia, Czechia, Finland, Israel, Moldova, Norway, Portugal, Serbia, Sweden, and Switzerland are all the qualifiers in alphabetical order. So they're moving on to the grand final. Semifinal 2 is going to take place on Thursday. I will probably do a predictions video for that separately because this one's already almost half an hour. But thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you thought below. Did your favorites qualify? And are you happy with the results? I'm super, super happy because of the ones that I wanted to get in did, but I still feel, sad for the others that didn't. But I hope that they can hold their heads up high knowing that they did an amazing job regardless. Anyways, I will see you guys next time, and full more week of, well, 2 more shows for Eurovision, but still the whole week of Eurovision hype. And I will see you next time.